to be doing whatever it is they want to do. Unfortunately, that's just helping with the spread of COVID. Although fortunately, I recently different people I know that have either been tested or have had it have had mild symptoms. Thank God. I did see some encouraging news. Northeastern University is actually started through their medical program. They've actually started distributing the vaccine to members of their allied healthcare team, and I believe they're going to be set up. They're hoping eventually to be able to do 1,000 vaccinations a day. Very qualified institution. So I'm hopeful that more of our Boston area schools are going to get on board and maybe help do something similar so that we can eventually get the general public protected. That's about it. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Alan. All good notes. I appreciate all that. And I did see the story about Harvard University, and that's great stuff. Tom, you were not on our last meeting. I don't know if you're aware of this. One of the subjects we had in conversation about this COVID, it's been, and I had heard about it on the news, and Alan had actually heard more previous to our meeting about this, that it's showing up in the wastewater treatment plants. The virus itself is showing up in the wastewater, and they're concerned about that, following it to make sure it doesn't get into the water table and a whole new avenue of destruction for us. Don't know if you were aware of any of that, if you had heard anything about it. Had you, Tom?
No, I hadn't. Was that something that came through DEP?
I saw it on the TV on a news station. I don't know where Alan saw his. I'm sure he told us. I don't remember.
Have we had any formal notification from the state level to our board about it? Do we know?
Missy?
No, I haven't gotten anything.
Okay.
Okay. Well, very interesting. Thank you for the update.
Okay. All right. Simple recycling.
He's not on. So we'll go to Sharp's compliance.
Dan, is it?
Todd.
Todd, I'm sorry.
No,
Todd, this is Ian. This is Andy, the chairman. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Andy.
So currently we use your product through, I don't know if you're familiar with our, are you from Texas or are you from up here?
I'm positioned in Houston, yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Our trash hauler, E.L. Harvey and Sons, it's a family-run operation. It's a good-sized company.
Mm-hmm.
Through our contract, that's how we got introduced to your product, and it's been very well received in our town. And unbeknownst to me, because it's so well received, we've actually run short. We've been using the 1 quart containers. I myself was also using them. I had a dog that was diabetic. He's since left us, but it was a very easy to use, and I liked it. And I know other people that are using it and liked the way you have it set up. When it's full and filling out the manifest, and just put it in the mailbox and it's all set. So what we want to try to see if we can afford to do is to do it on our own. I'm looking at some of the information that you have sent us.
Yes, sir.
The volumes of containers are way, way, way above what our needs would be. And we can fine tune that if we can come to common ground and just, if you can service us for a smaller amounts. I'm reading about pallets and I think, whoa, pallets, holy cow, my God.
You know, the product sheet is very descriptive about everything that it can come to you. So, but we do them in individuals. They can come in cases. That way they can be distributed whenever you want to. We can also direct ship to houses. There's several different combinations we can do. We're a leader in this industry. We've been doing it for 25 years. So very well versed in it. might recommend, different sizes just to help the budget for for your community, just from a standpoint. Those 1 quarts hold about 50 of the 1 cc syringes. And then our 1 gallon goes up to about 210. It varies on the brand maker, it could be more than that. I like giving the low number, so if it's more, no one gets mad at me about that. And then I talked about the 2 gallons as well, because those can hold up to 440. It might just depend on a person's needs. If they're diabetic, I mean, maybe how many times a day do they have to do insulin injections or things like that? And these also can hold those preloaded patient support pins, different things like that, that may be sent out from a provider for the patient's health. So we can help in many different ways. And as far as also too, the documentation, we could set everything up to where the community has a visibility of everything that's been returned, the date and the weight it's been destroyed. And that way you can see the returns that have come back and show proof of destruction.
Just for my own knowledge, and I'm assuming my board members and Missy, how are needles in my case, it was insulin needles, and I'm assuming that it's all needles is what the SHARPS program is. How are they handled? How are they destroyed?
Great question. We pride ourselves in the fact that we repurpose everything. We are a zero landfill organization. For example, these SHARPS containers would come back to our facility. We would receive them, scan the waste manifest that you mentioned that you had filled out previously. That way that documentation is instantly uploaded to your system, because we're going to weigh it, we're going to date it, and then we'll move it into an autoclave where we render everything neutral. And then we move this to a recycle program where we repurpose the plastics, the metals, everything like that. One use is it's converted into electricity. Another plant may convert it into different things like your car bumper. For all, I mean, it's don't freak out if you look at your car. It's all been treated and rendered neutral, but it is a wonderful program from a standpoint that once we get it and treat it, we don't turn it into a landfill to fill it up there.
That's great. I'm so happy to hear that. That's wonderful. And is that something that your company does, or after you render them neutral, does it go to someone else for that process?
We have different ones. We might have different people that specialize in repurposing those products after we've rendered them neutral. But yes, sir, we take them out and redistribute them out through the different chains that we have, depending on what parts of the country the treatment facilities are at that our products come back to.
And if someone had, can't even come up with any kind of an idea as to what disease may be, say it was an infectious disease,
Mm-hmm.
and it's sent to you in these containers. How is those needles, the SHARPS, rendered neutral and safe?
Oh, good question. The way we have these systems designed, they have interliners, so everything's packaged up. The return label is already on the box. When we receive them, these are placed into an autoclave, so it's high pressure and steam. You wouldn't even basically notice that the items had been steamed, but we have that autoclave process to where they're rendered neutral. Once they have had all the infectious waste rendered neutral, that's when we can take them out, and then we would shred them in some cases. Some cases they may be sent in whole, it just depends. But usually it's shredded to be more of a manageable material, so that way it goes off to the different areas, whether it's rendering things for plastics. I mean, we do same things for different items, different materials. You even mentioned previously about talking about how the waste, the COVID is showing up in the wastewater. One thing our company has specialized in previously, before this outbreak had happened, is getting the medications out of your water system too. So we have a really high sensitivity to the community and the surrounding thing, because it's not just for a standpoint of treating the waste. It's a lifetime thing, because there's a lot of unintended consequences that can happen if somebody's not managing it properly.
Cradle to coffin. You familiar with that term?
What was that again? Sorry.
Cradle to coffin?
Yes, sir. We call it cradle to grave. Sorry.
Yeah, okay, same thing. There you go.
Tomato.
That's all wonderful news.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
I said it's tomato.
Yeah. There you go. So that's all great news. Tom, do you have some questions for Todd?
Well, it sounds like a great opportunity to partner. I know when talking with Missy that the need is definitely there beyond what we currently have contractually with Harvey. So I see an opportunity. One question I would throw out there, is there any thought possibly to a variant for what we currently do with regard to a central depository? Reason I ask is I noticed, a larger container option in here, like 20 or 30 gallon size containers.
Yes, sir.
I didn't know if that was something we would want to consider, or just kind of keep the program on the level that we currently do, kind of working, I think, individually with folks.
You have a couple of options here, and it may be past and future options, meaning like future because of the restrictions on gatherings, things like that. And every state's a little different. Sometimes organizations take advantage of our larger system, like the 30-gallon system, to collect Sharps containers. Not every Sharps container is the same. Ours are designed a lot differently. It's not a flimsy package or anything like that. I mean, for example, I generally like to use the 2-gallon as an example. One, because it's wider from my standpoint, but a lot of times when I was talking to people, I was literally standing on one of those while I'm demonstrating the product. They can't see that, but in my conviction, that's what it is. Our products have to be a certain way in order to be able to go back through the mail. Other people do not make them that way. They just have to be able to, one, collect the Sharps, and then they're designed to go into a pickup box where somebody comes and picks it up. So therefore, we have these 30-gallon systems where any one of the residents could have any kind of Sharps container from any brand maker. And it's like Tetris. They just go inside that 30-gallon container, and it can be rearranged to maximize the fit. Those systems hold over 50 pounds. With full Sharps in a Sharps container, it'll never equal that weight. The only time we'd ever have issues with that is if somebody was putting needle tips, where you don't have any loose space. But that's not something that you would have with the residents in your community. That's something you'd get from like a dental practice or something like that. But that option gives you a chance to take existing Sharps containers that somebody may have, it's not mailable, and they can't just put it in a box and send it to us for destruction. Now it can go inside one of those systems, and then whenever it fills up, it could be sent back for treatment. We don't have where we charge a monthly or anything like that, so it literally can just be order whatever you need whenever you need it. And then you do not have to spend one dime until something is needed again later on down the road. So there would not be an obligation of a monthly or a quarterly or even an annual as far as payment. It's just find the systems that best suit your needs and then order whenever you need them.
I like that.
Okay, very good, yeah. Thank you.
How does the 30 gallons get transported back to your facility from Massachusetts?
UPS is the transporter for that. Sharps are actually classified as used medical devices and not regulated medical waste. Therefore, UPS can transport the used medical devices, and that is what's going to be classified as. Some states have stricter regulations. The only one that does is Florida, where they consider everything regulated waste. Then we would recommend somebody use the Postal Service because the UPS would not be an option. For your home users, we might recommend USPS, United States Postal Service, because they literally could just have it picked up at their home in the mailbox. But also, too, we have pickup built in, so it doesn't matter. I mean, they will come to the person's home no matter what system is. We just need to be either contacted, and that can be done in any different way, whether it's from your organization or directly from the resident. And then the pickup is free. We schedule it. We just would not encourage anybody else to schedule a pickup because UPS or USPS's thing is they will have a charge for the person doing that, but we don't have that. We have it built in. So we would have that pickup scheduled and it can be done the next day.
And that's at every residence individually?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
It's priority mail. So with the United States Postal Service, they're coming to anybody's home. They just need to be notified of when and where, and they will be there.
And what size containers is that you can do that with at residences?
That could be anything from the 1 quart to the 3 gallons and any combination in between. We can do even in these larger systems, but I mean, not an individual needs those at a home. But all it is just no different than you having a package picked up from the office. It's literally the same. These have to be packaged a certain way. We go through a rigorous testing process every year or every 2 years with the United States Postal Service. And not many organizations want to do that. One, it's costly, and it's a third party that takes every one of our products that the United States Postal Service would transport. They simulate the weather that they would experience. They fill these to capacity. They drop it on different access points, trying to see if it'll fail. They also do a puncture test just to make sure that it can't be punctured and travel en route, protecting their employees. Because, like you said, from cradle to grave, you're responsible for the waste.
Sure.
So this way, this guarantees there's no issues. The Postal Service recertifies us for another 2 years, where other organizations will not take advantage of that because of the cost, but also because their product may not meet those standards and they don't want to raise them to meet that.
Interesting. I really like the, when I was using them for my needles for my dog, I liked the 1 quart size. It went right in my mailbox. I filled out the manifest, taped it up, went right in the mailbox, and it was gone. That was really convenient. Very
Same
convenient.
exact thing. It wouldn't be any different for any of the other sizes. It'd be the exact same. It's just that it may be more of a benefit for the community to have the 1 quarts. And of course, we can send over pricing and combinations for anything. It doesn't matter. And I have different communities that have done a combination of different sizes, because they may have some that have a very small need and that a 1 quart could get them through for months and months. And then some that are regular users that are the ones that are taking advantage of the program because they need it. They may need something larger just to cut down the cost for your organization.
Is it cheaper? That was my next question. Is it cheaper for the larger containers?
Yes, they're based on volume. So give you an example, like the 1 quart, if someone was buying it individually, it's $32.50. It holds 50 1cc syringes. Just based it off that, the 1 gallon, it is $49.95 and it holds 210.
Wow. Wow. Very good. Interesting. Alan, do you have some concerns or thoughts on this company process?
Everything sounds good. I think it's just a matter of getting together with Missy and trying to determine whether the 1 quart or the 1 gallon container, based on what our previous usage has risen to, will work. My assumption is the 1 gallon container would most likely fit into someone's mailbox.
Yes, sir.
So again, that ease of use and ease of shipping it to your company would be great. I think if we go to anything bigger, then it might get a little harder to mail,
Sure.
or to make arrangements to have it picked up. The larger container, like you were talking about, like the 30 gallon,
Mhm.
I don't feel it at this time. We probably have a secure area that we could utilize something like that. Or maybe someone who would want to take the responsibility of collecting them and being responsible for that container until it was time to ship it back to you. So that might be something that we would think about in the future, especially if our use increased.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking, the 1 quart or the 1 gallon, the 1 gallon container definitely sounds like the better buy. But very encouraged, and I appreciate you coming on this call, Todd. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Todd, quick question. I'm assuming that going from the quart to the 1 gallon, you explained the volume advances, the better price for the volume and the money. If we go bigger, I don't think we would be able to. But if it went bigger to a 20 or a 30 gallon, is the savings? Does it reflect the same way?
Yeah, I mean, it's a different type of system based on the needs. What that 30 gallon designed to do is to take non-mailable Sharps containers, collection containers, and make them mailable. So therefore, it could be, and what I meant earlier about this was a past and future kind of solution, because in the past, many communities, towns, things like that would have a Sharps collection point, and they may take those Sharps containers in. Obviously now with COVID, that changes things. So the mailable has become the primary option now for a lot of organizations, including like yourself, which you guys are considering. But then when the future comes in is that we may have other options if you decide, hey, this thing's growing, we need to maximize what we're doing, and things are safer now where we can utilize different options that we couldn't use in the past. And so I may have an option of even our route-based trucks to be able to pick up from a central location, or using this mailable option with the 20 or the 30 gallon.
Sounds like you're very versatile and willing to work. I like that.
We're a environmental solutions company. I mean, I'm not just medical waste, it's pharmaceutical. We're a licensed reverse distributor. We handle hazardous waste. So we're not really a jack of all trades because then you're a master of nothing, but we specialize in the waste streams that are regulated and for organizations and keeping them compliant. I mean, obviously in our name, compliance is in there. So we have to be versatile and very understanding of each location's needs and wants, but what is the regulation? So that way you're not solving a problem, but then creating a new one at the same time.
Sure, sure. Off topic, are you an owner of this company or are you an employee?
Well, we are publicly traded, so technically I can say yes because I own stocks.
You're very passionate and very knowledgeable about this product. I like that.
Well, I love what I do because I love helping people. And this is something that I've been with this company for 8 years now. And we've been growing and exploding. Unfortunately, with everything going out there, all the negatives are going on, but we're experiencing great growth. But it's also because, I mean, we don't beat around the bush. I don't have to tell you something and something else materializes later on. I'm just straightforward. I want you to understand what you're getting because life is about relationships. We shouldn't have to be coy about anything at all. It's just, here's what it is. Here's what we can do. That way an educated buyer can make the best decision based on their needs and wants.
You're very explicative about everything. Missy, could you chime in, please? How are you feeling about this?
I'm very encouraged by this. The one thing I would ask Todd to explain to us is you guys, in the presentation that you had sent to me, you also have a thing called Takeaway Medication Recovery System,
Yes,
where people can mail back their unused medications.
Oh,
Could
yeah.
you go into that a little bit? Because I think especially with COVID right now, I know that our police station will take unused medications and whatnot, but especially the seniors and stuff not venturing out as much as they are, this might also be another option for them. So I don't know if you could talk about that a little bit.
I'd love to. This is an excellent product. We actually designed this in tandem with our MedSafe unit. What this is designed to do is that these can handle controls 2 through 5 plus any non-controlled medications as well. The individual falls under the household hazardous waste exemption. So they're allowed to place things in there that a pharmacy or a long-term care facility could not. And the beauty of it is that it's a simple envelope. Now, it's not a paper envelope. It's designed to handle liquids, everything like that. Everything that we do, including the Sharps containers, the envelopes, they come with IFUs. So it's just our acronym for instructions for use. So they come in English and in Spanish. So every time somebody gets one, it doesn't matter if they forgot how to do it. It easily explains it. But what's beautiful about the envelope is places will buy them. They never expire. They may hand them out, send them out to people. The people can place all of their meds in there. And we find this has been a very popular item for especially people that have cancer treatments, because typically they're not near the hospital where they're doing their cancer treatment. They're hundreds of miles away. So a lot of times they change regimens of medication. So this allows them to place all their expired meds or changed meds in and then put it in the mailbox. It comes back to us where we receive it. These go into our DEA vault at our licensed reverse distributorship where we take them. Then we have to destroy them within 30 days based on the rule from the DEA. So when we get them, we will scan the barcode. We've already weighed it. That will upload to the account showing the date and the weight the item's going to be destroyed. And then those items are incinerated per the requirements of the DEA.
Very good. Right. Currently, Missy, the police and fire, maybe it is just police, take them. Do you know how they dispose of them?
I don't know anything about that. I didn't realize fire took it too. I just because of being, at town hall and stuff. But I'm just thinking that with the pandemic and everything, it could be maybe another option for people.
Sure.
What would the cost be, Todd, for these envelopes?
I can send it out to you because we have different options. I mean, typically people buy them in the cases of 250, but then we have them as small as a quantity of 12, 25, and 50. It just may come down to what's best for you. The price per envelope breaks down obviously as the case quantity goes higher. For example, like a case of 250 envelopes is $1,375. That includes the destruction, everything. So it's just Some people may not need a quantity of that many, and some may need to order multiple quantities of cases of those. So it just kind of depends. But the nice thing is that if something is not used, it never expires. So that those can be hung on to until a demand is brought up, and then it can be distributed to whoever may need it, and then that way they can use it, send it back, but everything's already been paid for. So it doesn't matter if this is 3 years down the road and you're on your final envelope, there's no cost to you. It's already been paid for 3 years ago. It's the only time you'll ever pay again is because you need to reorder another set or some more sharps containers, stuff like that.
Great. I like that idea. I don't know how the board feels. Andy?
I like that idea because there are other reasons, such as the passing of a loved one that was on a lot of medication. I know probably 3 or 4 different situations just within the last year that has been a case. People have asked me, hey, you're on the Board of Health, how do we dispose of these? And I tell them, go to the police station. But this is something that we could certainly embrace, and we need to know more about this and discuss it more, but I like it.
Yeah, no, I can send you one. I would like to send you all envelopes so you can actually personally use it. Just like how you use the one quart with your dog. I would encourage you to use this for any meds that you have, expired, anything, just to see how easy it is. And then obviously we can give you all the information about it, but exactly what you just said is one of the prime reasons why the envelopes have been very popular is because it also prevents overdoses. Because you do have people that are terminally ill and they may be on some very strong opioids. And so that way, one, there's multiple reasons. One, for the get them out of there so grandkids, kids, things like that don't get into them and don't take a chance of overdosing. But the second factor that a lot of people don't think about, you have a loved one that passes. And the worst thing for them to see is their loved one's medications around. So where a family member, a friend can come in there, take those stuff, put them all in an envelope, they can be gone and not remind the spouse, the family member, anything like that, that those meds are still there, that a lot of people will experience months down the road because maybe they just didn't get around to that part.
And have peace of mind to know that it was handled properly.
Properly destroyed, yes, sir. Because that's the beauty of this, is that these are incinerated because we know that medications do not break down. So they will leach into your water supply because if people landfill them, which a lot of people are doing, I mean, you know, that leachate just goes right back into the solid waste treatment facility, and then we're drinking grandpa's opioids. So this eliminates that problem where it gets them out of the landfills, no matter what it is, gives them a safe, easy way to return it. And it's easy. It's no different than them mailing off a letter. It's just that it's got their medications in there. These envelopes cannot be reopened. So there's not an issue of, hey, once they've been sealed, is somebody going to break into them? No. They have to have certain requirements. Matter of fact, we tested these. We've had these available since 2014. We tested them in Afghanistan and sent them back through, through those addresses just to show how the Postal Service can carry it from multiple different areas.
When you say incineration, just so that I'm assuming my board members know, but just to have discussion about it, it's not just as simple as throwing them in the wood stove and incinerating them. They are properly high pressure incinerated.
No, yeah,
and scrubbers.
It's our incinerator that disposes of. We're also a licensed reverse distributor, so we will be reversing DEA controls off licenses from pharmacies, doctors, things like that. So it's the same incinerator that burns those materials for the DEA, for police departments, different things like that. It's the same incinerator we use, whether it's the envelopes. We also have environmental return systems for places with non-controlled medications. It's the same incinerator that destroys those properly as well.
Wonderful. Tom, could you chime? Do you have something to say, please?
Just that I would also support the added element of the medication recovery system. I think it's a great complement to the SHOPS program. I'd like to see it work together, combined, and this could maybe something we could help, say, the police department, for example, fire from a distribution perspective, and lend them support for what they might do with regard to collecting, used medications as well.
And we even have programs for the police department, like with the MedSafe. So if there's other opportunities that come up for a way to help and things like that, we're more than happy to just present options for consideration.
Wonderful. Are you all set, Tom?
I am, yes. Thank you. Thank you, Todd. That was a great presentation.
Thank you.
Alan, you have something you'd like to add, please?
Mr. Chairman, I'm on board. Definitely sounds like a very safe and very convenient way to assist our citizens in the proper disposal of medications. And I think, like some of our other programs, it might start out slow until everybody really finds out what's available, and then something like that could really take off. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm very optimistic and looking forward to working with these guys. Thank you very much for your time, Todd, and you'll be sending those envelopes to Missy so we can check them out.
Yes,
And
sir.
she has all your pricing structure and everything, and we can come up with a plan and let's get on board.
Yes, sir. And I will follow up. I'll send her a pricing breakdown for all the different size Sharps containers. I don't know if I gave pricing for the 1 quarts, but I will send that, and then I will send information about the envelopes. And then if you guys could tell me, I mean, if there's more people in consideration, I can send as many envelopes as you would like, and that way everybody can, one, we all have meds in our closets we need to get rid of, but then two, consider the ease of use of the program as you're considering it.
Andy, maybe
Yes.
we should maybe have a few extra sent to us just so that if any of you have a chance to talk to Chief Kersey or Chief Kessler, you can show them an example of what we're trying to do, just so they'll understand. And if they have any questions or concerns, they can voice them. I don't know what you think about that.
Sounds like a great plan. I like it.
Alrighty.
All right.
So it sounds positive, Todd.
Yeah,
Um,
perfect.
Yeah, if you want to send me, as many as you can, so we can use them and then show them to our police and fire chief. And then give me the pricing, and then the board can mull over on how they want to proceed with it. And then we'll be in touch with you. How does that sound, Andy?
I like it. Thank you very much for attending, Todd. We look forward to working with you.
Perfect. It's been a pleasure. I'm happy to assist anytime you need anything. If you have questions, no problem. I was joking around with Missy. I only work on the days that end in Y, so no problem.
I think we all do that. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. I appreciate it. We'll be in touch.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a good night.
Good stuff.
I am very encouraged. I really like the idea. I don't know how you guys are feeling. I really like the idea of the takeaway, especially with the medication, especially for, people who don't want to venture out or shut-ins or whatnot. A very easy way for them to get rid of their medication. And I really like the Sharps container options. It seems like he's very willing to work with us. Andy?
Yes, he's very well versed, and I like that. He's no who's, as, what's, he knows what's going on. I like that. How many, you must get asked all the time, Missy, as far as old meds, what to do with, right?
I have gotten questions in the past, yes. And I've always directed them to the police station. I just think this is just another avenue for the residents to give them more options.
Sure, I like it. So Sonny is not here?
Sonny is not here. He sent me an email after I had left, wanting to know what the meeting was about, and I did not have a chance to respond back to him because he just said, I just realized this is the second meeting I've been asked to attend since October. What is the nature of this appearance? The thing is, he's never come to one of your meetings. He's never appeared at your meetings. So I didn't get a chance.
Does he realize it's virtual?
Pardon?
Does he realize it's virtual, or does he think he has to show up?
No, I sent him copies of the links and I explained to him that they could call. What I explained to him, I explained exactly the same way to Todd.
Okay.
So, because they both are out of state. He's in Ohio and Todd is in Texas.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Okay. So he wouldn't be showing up. That's good.
No. You'd have to call or come in through the Teams, and I haven't heard anything.
have you had any adverse, issues, complaints, or anything about Simple Recycling?
If I do get a complaint, it's really just the inconsistency. I think that, they put a bag out, and I think also the confusion that this is a separate company from Harvey. They do not work together. They don't, they don't run the same route, so to speak, other than they all come out the same trash days, if there's no, you to put your bag out on your regular trash day, they're not working together. I just think, I would like to advertise it more. I know Ann Mazar is willing to do a story for us. I would just like to know that there's more consistency with the service. I haven't put anything out in a while, but that's all I can say. Andy?
I have another bag, maybe two by the time I get done outgrowing things. I think it's something with the men in water. They shrink the clothes. Tom, do you have anything to add?
Never heard that before.
Since we have you, Alan, do you have anything to add about Simple Recycling, please?
I have put bags out, and I have noticed that their consistency has improved. As far as, personally, I think it's a wonderful service, and that really is their only flaw, is that, we have a problem with them being consistent. But again, based on my experience, they've gotten better. I haven't had to call them in a long time, and I've put a couple of bags out here and there, and at the end of my trash day, they've been gone. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
There's so many people, you have to tell them, right? They ask, how do you get a hold of these people? The number's right on the bag. Oh, so it is. Tom, do you have anything to add? The one good thing about this is we're not paying for this service. So if the inconsistency is certainly dealable, we can deal with it and just kind of fluff it off and get through it. People will use it or they won't. It's been a while since I've seen any bags out. Probably in the spring when everybody starts cleaning, we'll see more. That's my assumption. Tom, do you have something you'd like to add, please?
Well, just that I've only used the service infrequently. First time was last when it started up. Didn't have an issue, and then most recently, probably the end of October, being November, I did experience an issue with a non-pickup, but it was corrected very quickly, and then I have used it probably twice since, and both times they were there on the same day as the trash. So, I think I'm of the view, similar to Alan, as I'm seeing what appears to be improvement. Obviously, there's still some pockets here and there of some issues with consistently following the pickup day, but it's from my perspective, it's working. But I agree with Missy from the standpoint of wanting to advertise it more. It's difficult to do that until we really have a sense of a good level of confidence that they can come through on a regular basis. Chairman?
I wouldn't imagine that was a very high-paying job. So, unfortunately, patience is going to be a necessary evil for this.
Andy?
Yes.
The other thing to keep in mind too is that eventually, at some point in time, the DEP is going to make textiles a waistband item. So we're going to need, this goes right hand in hand with getting people to remove the textiles out of the trash and having it recycled or whatever. So at least now we have an option for if the state does, for when the state comes down, just like they're getting ready to put mattresses in the waistband list. So it's definitely a program we need to keep and and advertise, but it's just the consistency. I just wish I was a little bit more. I don't want to say I'm not confident in it, but there's just a
I
little
think they're
hiccups.
giving I think they're giving all they can, to be honest with you, which we have to deal with.
Right, exactly.
Could you please explain that term you just used, the waistband?
So DEP has a list of what's called waistband items. They're banned from being put into the trash.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, it sounds funny, but when you actually look at it, you know,
It's banned.
yeah, right,
It's not hazardous, but it can't be thrown out in the regular trash.
right. It's just like you know, your white goods, you know, your white metals, washing machines, dryers, things like that.
Okay.
So.
Gee, I thought it was a new
Mr.
type of
Chairman?
band, you know, the waistband musical type of thing, you know?
Go ahead, Alan.
Thank you. We do have to remember that everything that is being taken out of the tonnage is an advantage because we are saving money even though we're not paying for this service. So if they can continue to get more consistent, we're only going to continue to win.
And that's going to change
That's it.
also very shortly too. The
Well,
cost for the tonnage.
Yeah.
That was a good segue.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I have a couple of things to talk to you guys about that have come up. Mike came and dropped off some sharp containers. So this stuff is not on the agenda because it just came up, but it's things for you to discuss and think about. So I'm just going to say it real quick and then we'll go back to it. One of the things is Mike told me for the board to discuss, to think about changing those who participate with recycling only but do not participate in the trash program. He strongly is recommending that the board do away with that and only have those who are participating in the trash program also be allowed to recycle. He talked about going along and extending Harvey's contract.
Excuse me, Missy.
Pardon?
Could you stop right there and please explain why what you just said? I know we were going to go back to it. If you want to do it when we go back to it, that's okay. But
Nope, that's fine. So what happens is with the way recycling and trash and everything is going nowadays, we're very fortunate right now with our current contract and how everything is written up. We haven't hit a lot of the expenses that some other towns around us have. Right now, recycling is at $100 a ton. You currently pay just under, basically $70 a ton for your trash. So those who are not participating by paying the bill, the people who are paying the bill are paying to allow those people to recycle for free, and those days are numbered because recycling back in the day, we wanted everybody to recycle because there was that paper money grab that, you know, we would split the difference, 60-40 split with Republic, and there were times you could have made almost to $10,000 in a year off the paper rebates, and that stuff is all gone. So free recycling is no longer. So Mike is strongly suggesting that you guys do away. With my discussions with Andy about this quickly, we talked about, you know, coming up with an end date. If you guys decide to do this, you can do it sooner. But if you decided, hey, July 1st, 2021, if you don't participate in the trash program, you can no longer put out recycling for free. We can advertise it in the crier. We can put it into the trash bills, you know, things like that. The other thing, I was going somewhere with this and now I can't remember. Oh, the other
Before
go ahead.
you add to that, I just want to interject something. So do we know what percentage of people actually put out recycles only?
I don't know because they just can just put it out.
I think
no
that's
record.
a key, I mean, I'd like to, in order to really determine.
There's no way of finding that out.
Well, I think we can. I think in a similar fashion, how we wanted the drivers to kind of monitor for something before. I think,
We've
I
had
think we
this
could
discussion
ask-
already, and I believe Mike came back and said that's not going to happen. Phil cannot be riding around checking off who does and who doesn't. Mike came back and said that's not going to happen.
Okay, it doesn't seem like it's a chore, really. If you go to a site, you do it for a week or two, you go to a site, and chances are, these are probably quote-unquote regulars, if anything, that,
Okay, so I got a scenario for you. What if one week a subscriber puts out his recycling and just doesn't have a lot of trash, or is too tired, or forgets and doesn't get the trash out? So the recycling gets picked up. Does that get checked off as a recycling, or does that get checked off as a subscriber?
well, I mean, how often does it happen where a trash subscriber doesn't put out trash on a weekly basis? I
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
think
know
that
that.
that often. I think that's more of a regular routine if somebody puts the trash out every week.
Would like to believe that it is, but I'm sure
Right.
it happens.
So
I'm
I
just
just,
playing
again,
devil's
if Mike says it's not possible, I guess, it just seems to me doesn't seem like a great chore to be able to, over the course of a couple of weeks, let's say, just jot down, yeah, this resident, they've been recycle only, this has been recycle only. It seems like there'd be enough regularity in the route to have even off the top of Phil's head, I would think it's been enough regularity, knowing the route for as long as he's been doing it, to say, yeah, you probably have about 15 or 20 households that are non-trash people, but they put out recycles.
I
I
highly
don't know.
doubt it. I have a question for you, Tom.
Okay.
Did you ever ride in a big truck? You want to do a ride along for a week, checking off the list?
Yeah, it's a possibility. It's a
We'll have to
possibility. I
get
wouldn't
clearance
mind,
from we'll have to get clearance
help
from
it.
Harvey.
I hear that Mike hits the road and brings his guys breakfast, so as long as he's willing to do that, shit, I may jump on that one.
We've had this conversation before. I remember it coming up with the exact same scenario. Missy, you a little while ago you said that recycling is $100 a ton. That's not what we're paying right now. Do you know
No.
what the number is?
I don't know. I'd have to, hold on, let me see if I can find it in one of their bills.
I do know that Milford is paying $100 a ton, and that's where we're headed
Yes,
after the 2-year extensions on our. And it actually
Right.
could start this year.
right. So that's the thing. This is Mike forewarning you guys that when the contracts come up, and the other thing he brought up was the Wheelabrator contract. That is going to be coming up in the next couple of years. And he said, there's no way you're going to still be paying the way the markets are, the way recycling is going, that you're going to be still paying 70, even $80 a ton. He goes, you're going to be stuck to spend $90 a ton minimum. So I'm just trying to see if there's a breakdown. No, I don't have it in the bill. I'd have to ask Mike about it, what it is. The other thing that Mike also brought up to me was, if you have someone who, because I just recently got someone that called me, if you have someone who says, I don't participate in the trash program, my hauler doesn't offer it, so I want to use the towns. We need to find out who the hauler is, because that is against state law. You cannot be a trash hauler offering trash weekly, whatever, services, and not offering a recycle program. And maybe you guys each could reach out to Mike individually and talk to him about how it works and what the law is and everything. This was about a 20-minute conversation Mike and I had the other day when we were talking about the recycling and the contract. And the other thing is, there's a discussion that might have to happen, is possibly changing the routes that we currently have. Fridays have always been a heavy day for Phil. And with some of these new subdivisions coming on, he said Mondays are starting to be a problem, Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Right now, Thursday is the only light day. So there might be a discussion at some point in time with Mike on reconfiguring some of the routes, so that way Phil's not topping out so early. I know
Was there
this,
talk in that discussion of possibly having a need for a second truck?
he did not say that to me. He just said maybe reworking the routes to make it easier. I do know that this week it's paper week, so there's a lot of cardboard out there.
Yeah,
And I know Mike told me that for Tuesday's route, Phil was running at least an hour behind. So up in the Vincent Road, Blueberry Estates area, they were left behind, and Phil hit that first thing this morning. I know because everybody's so used to Phil coming at certain times. He didn't hit my house until probably 2 o'clock, and he's normally there around 12. So, it's just something to think about, something that Mike will probably want to talk about. I don't know if you want to have Mike come in to one of your next meetings to have these discussions, or if you just want to reach out to him on your own. Mike's very accommodating when you need to talk to him about things. So it's just more of a heads up for you guys.
yeah, you're definitely very accommodating, but I think we all should hear the same thing at the same time, to be honest with you. I think as opposed to trying to individually have individual conversations, I think that lends consistency to the discussions.
Sure.
Absolutely,
Whatever it is.
I agree.
Do you want to see if Mike will come in your next meeting, which is tentatively January 20th?
Yes.
Okay. The other thing that this will be a discussion from Mike too is the extending of the Harvey contract. It currently expires June 30th of this year. I'm looking at I was looking at the contract, and I would say if you guys decide to go ahead, I think you have to give them notice 30 days prior to the ending of the contract that you want to extend it. But if that's the direction you want to go, I would probably suggest letting them know sooner than later.
Yes, we have to take the initiative to activate that ability to extend the contract. It has to come from us to initiate the conversation to get locked in.
Yeah, because all it says in the contract is the contract can be extended for 2 1-year periods upon mutual agreement of both parties.
Yeah.
So I would definitely recommend.
Something that we kind of brushed right by. If in fact we decide that we are going to take away the recycling from the people that do not subscribe to the trash program, this is something that I had a little bit of a concern about when talking with Missy, that I feel that it would be advantageous to us and the people of the town to have a little bit more of a soft approach, to let them know as soon as possible, start putting it in the town crier, because this is January. We probably have, is it once a month? Yeah. So we have, 4 or 5 months before we make the change on July 1st when the contract changes, that we, hey, everybody, this is what's coming down the road, just to try and explain why, due to costs, recycling costs, the changing world, blah, blah, blah. So therefore, the recycling will not be offered to non-subscribers, and just try to ease people into the thought that this is coming down the road. I don't know how you guys feel about that. Tom?
Let me defer to Alan first. Let me ponder that for a second. Thank you.
Okay, Alan?
I understand the problem on the recycling side, and I see a lot of it firsthand, that I can see from being at my clients' houses that the stuff they're putting in the recycling bin is garbage. A yogurt container that still has yogurt in it isn't going to be able to be recycled. So a big problem we have is we're not really efficient at our recycling, and I don't know if I don't know why. I mean, I don't think we could make it any plainer, but, unfortunately, a lot of our recycling doesn't pass the test. So, when it becomes trash, it's got to be thrown away. It's going to cost us money. Also, I understand that, and I don't know really why, even the good recycling, the good quality recycling does not seem to be in the demand that it was at one time. So again, if it's not in demand, it becomes trash. But the problem is the DEP is telling us that we have to have a recycling program. So I'm kind of confused by the fact that we're being forced to have a recycling program, yet nobody wants even the good recycling. And because our recyclers aren't good at it, a lot of our recycling is contaminated to begin with and doesn't pass the sniff test. Before we start telling people that if they're going to be recycling only and not participate in our trash program, I would like to have a quick discussion with someone like an Ann Mazar, if not Ann Mazar, only because I know how passionate she is about recycling. She might be able to give us some input maybe as to, as you said, AJ, a soft approach, or maybe there's a way we could improve our recycling so that it's not going to cost us money. Just to circle back a little bit where Tom mentioned, is there a need for a second truck? I certainly hope we don't need a second truck because I don't think we'd like the price.
That's
Trucking
what I'm
costs
thinking.
money. So I would definitely like to reconfigure the routes as long as possible, because when we cross that bridge and we get into more trucking, which is what we pay Harvey for, the trucking portion of our trash, I think we're going to have sticker shock. We've got such a good thing going for so long with one truck, one driver. And, we really need to be aware of that with the development that's going on. There's going to be a cost, and we keep handing out building permits, and we're going to be in trouble. So I don't know, how we get that point across that maybe we need to slow things down a little bit. I know everybody got their tax bill this week, and I don't think anybody's bill went down. So I don't think people realize, everybody thinks new houses, more school kids. It costs you everywhere. And I don't think, people take into consideration what that next leap could be just for our trash program. And it's a shame the towns that have had to give up providing trash pickup for their residents. And it's happening around us. So we got to be aware. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
All very, very good thoughts, Alan. Thank you very much. And you're right about the second truck. Even though that the second truck would take away some of the workload from the first truck, theoretically, if we got another truck because of growth, we could be damn close to doubling our contract with a second truck, a second driver, second liability. Those trucks are $450,000 each. That's a lot of money. So they have to justify it. I agree and hope that we can work it out for reconfiguring. And this is all stuff, as Tom said, that we should have a conversation with our contact, who is Mike Sussman, and it would be preferably at a meeting so he's got everybody's ears and hopefully we all hear the same thing. Whereas if he had a conversation with me and then a conversation with Tom and then a different conversation with Alan, and then it could all be misunderstood more easily than if we were all in party together. So I agree with Tom on that one also. Are you good to go, Tom? Do you have some thoughts for us?
No, I think you gentlemen have covered the aspects very well. I think the next step is to kind of have a direct conversation with Mike and get candid with a couple of things. Yeah, it's unfortunate that the environment of recycling is just in a major shift, and I don't know. It's kind of, as Alan pointed out, it's kind of interesting that the DEP is pushing one thing, and it seems like the reality of the industry is doing something different, and it makes it very difficult from a local board of health perspective. That's for sure.
And the people that are trying to help figure it out, such as the Harveys, the Republics, whoever, that they're caught in the middle of it too. It is very confusing as in listening to Alan talk. The thought that DEP is mandating that you have to have a recycling program, but yet we're denying people that aren't paying because now our recycling is costing us instead of getting it for free. So that aspect is that one thought right there is going to be a bone of contention with a lot of people. So that's why we have to have all our information properly ready, and if in fact that is the way we're going to go. But like I said, I think that if in fact we are going to retract on the recycling from the people that do not subscribe, we have to start getting that word out now. Because if all of a sudden, if we didn't do that, say July 1st, all of a sudden, no, you can't recycle no more. You don't pay your bill. So you're not part of our program. That's going to be ugly. Missy, do you have something else for us as far as this subject?
Nope, I am good. No, I think you guys need to have Mike come in and have a discussion and lay it all out and know where everybody is. And I mean, if you really want, I could have Irene Condon from Mass DEP she's with the recycling program. After you had Mike in, we could have her in and see what she has to say. But that's up to you guys.
If you do that, I don't think he'll come on the meeting.
That's why I'm saying it'd have to be a meeting after Mike comes and sees us. I already know that.
I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but he is not a Mike Sussman fan.
Who was that? I missed that. Who isn't a Mike fan?
Irene Condon from the DEP. She's been into our meeting before.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, if we're good with all that for now, that's all I have on it. The next thing on the budget, Missy, is the budget.
Yep, is your budget. So I emailed you guys a copy of the figures that I have so far. And I don't know if I'm going to go line by line, or if you guys even had a chance to look at it.
Yes, I have it in front of me.
Me
Cool.
too.
Awesome. Alan?
I'm having a lot of problems with my Outlook. So I just reset my password before the meeting, so I have not had an opportunity to view it, but go right ahead. I'll take notes.
Okay.
Well, let me offer a wonderful prediction for you, Alan. I think your outlook is fabulous.
I was thinking that, Tom.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so in your first line item, when you're looking at the FinCom book, you have salaries, which is $5,575. And that includes you pay max $5,000 a year to be your animal inspector, and the rest goes to you guys' stipends, which you do not take. The next one is expenses, and that has a multitude of different things in it. So the first one is engineering. I proposed $20,000, which is what you currently have in your budget. This pays Lenny for his septic inspections and perk tests, and Tom for review of plans, as-built plans, and whatever else we ask him to do. The next is contracted services. Well, I've put in $10,000. You currently have $10,000, which was a big, big jump that we got because in this year and in next, we're not sure. As you know, Lenny's out. We'll be interviewing Danielle tomorrow. I don't know what her rates are. This also goes into when we have Elliott Brown do your tobacco compliance checks, which none have been done this year because with COVID, they're not looking for towns to do those things. And to pay my bond for the money and everything. The next
Excuse
one
me,
is, yep,
just out of curiosity, how much is Elliott Brown out of the regular year?
on a regular year, he's maybe $300. It's nothing.
Okay, chump change, okay.
Yep.
I was gonna say, if we're not doing it, can we relocate that money for something else for a year? I know it would be hard to get it back, but if it's only 300, leave it where it is.
Yep. So the next one is, this is the big one.
Before you move on, Missy, just one thing, clarification. So, in the first description I heard that had to do with the $20,000 figure,
Mm-hmm.
which the description, I wish the descriptions could be more descriptive, but it's called expenses, right? This is line
Yes.
item 1, right?
Yep. Line item,
And-
it's 510B in the FinCom book. Yep.
Okay, well, I'm just going by the sheet that I
Mhm.
have. It's was number
Yep.
1 on the list, 1 of 6 items.
Yep.
And then we just talked about number 4, which is expenses, what we're calling contracted services.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that broken up? Because it seems like aren't both categories both contracted services? They're just different.
It's
Things
just
that they do.
different. Yeah, it's just the way they categorized it back before I even worked here. Like I couldn't tell you what a clinic's for. You have $300 in a clinic. Don't know what that was for. No one's ever explained it to me, but that is where I would pay if we had to test for a rabid animal or something. That's where I would pay it out of. So why some of these things are listed the way they are, I don't know. It's just the
Okay.
way it's always been.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So the next one is the one that definitely needs some discussions. Is the VNA contract. Currently, it's $5,000 in the budget. I emailed Michelle from the VNA to ask what the contracted price for the FY22 will be, and she told me it's $17,500. So that is a huge jump. And if you guys have questions, we can talk about it now, or we can just talk about the VNA as a whole separate issue.
Well,
Well, I
that-
know we had talked earlier about it, and I certainly have questions. I think we need to see a detailed breakdown, which sounds like Kim is on board with wanting to see the same thing. So when it comes to the new contract, we have time.
Yes.
What I have greater concern with was that addendum
Yep.
that she put out to us. I was kind of looking through that with more scrutiny today, and I wasn't thrilled on 2 levels. I wasn't thrilled with the letter that came with it, along with the actual addendum itself. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at both of those things, but I'm not quite sure where Michelle's head's at. But I'm not in agreement with the presentation
Yep.
at
So,
all.
so Andy, if you
I don't
want,
think- I don't think any of us had, Tom. That's good.
so if you want, we can just go through the other budget items and then kind of take the VNA as a whole, because I think that's a much larger discussion. And this
Sounds
would kind of fall under COVID also. So the next thing would be the clinic, which is level funded at 300. Your postage, you currently are budgeted for 500. I level funded that. Newspaper, supplies, and meetings. Meetings would be meetings and dues, if we belong to any associations, if we, things like that. So that comes up to a grand total of $50,900 for your expenses. The next thing would be trash disposal. And in the trash disposal, I've put in for $131,689.55. I don't know if any of you got a chance to look at the different tabs at the bottom of what I had originally sent you, but
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I printed what you sent me, and I can't follow you. By what I have in front of me, it seems like you jumped from one line down to the bottom, then over to the next page, then down back. Do you have something that's in different order than what you sent us? Because I can't keep up.
I don't know.
Yeah, I was seeing some discrepancies myself. It didn't seem to line up with what I'm looking at either.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've just printed up the pages that I created, and that's what I'm seeing. So I don't know what you're seeing. Is there
the sheet,
question?
the sheet that you emailed us, Missy, for example, it was a one-page document that basically listed 6 categories on it. And the one that you just talked about for trash disposal, it had a FY21 requested of $122,000.
Yep. So that is what your current budget is for FY21.
Okay, so the number that you just gave, 130 something thousand, that's for
This is all your,
FY22.
correct. That's all your proposed
Okay.
numbers.
Okay.
So that way, this is what we were. This is what we're asking for. Is that
Okay.
So I'm looking.
Yep.
I'm looking at all my paperwork, and I don't see anywhere a $122,000 figure anywhere. So I'm lost with what I've been printed.
okay? I don't know what you're seeing. So what it is basically what I do is I take I create a picture of what the FinCom looks like. And then I give you the different fiscal years. So if you see what FY18, FY19, FY20, that's what your budgets were for
Yeah.
those to compare
But the
with.
numbers aren't jiving with what you're saying. I'm not seeing the same figures.
That's weird. I don't know.
I think what it might be, Andy, is that she's referencing numbers for FY22, and
Yeah.
FY22 is not represented on the document she sent.
It should
Okay.
be. It should
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, you just have, on the one that I got, it reflects FY19 actual, FY20 approved, FY21 requested, and then just shows an increase column at the very end as to what the increase may or may not be. Everything's
Yeah.
going up, but that's all I'm seeing on the document that I got.
Okay, let me look and see.
I want you guys to know that my yellow piece of paper in front of me is showing everything that Missy's saying.
Oh, excellent.
I did.
Well, maybe I ought to reset my password.
You have a great
There you
outlook,
go.
Alan. That's it. It's the man with the
Yeah,
outlook.
there it is. The Missy, disposal current 122,000.
Yep,
Next year is how much?
$131,689.55.
Thank you. I'm following right along.
Okay. So just to explain, how did I come up with? So for FY22, the 131,000, and then for your trash collection is $328,000. I took for the Harvey. I just took what's in the contract and the extension. For the trash disposal, what I took was all the tonnage for FY. See, this is where it gets confusing. The calendar year of 2020. I put all that into a column, came up with a grand total, and then times that amount by. Okay. So years ago, when we redid the Wheelabrator contract, there was a cheat sheet that they gave us on what they were expecting the tonnage rates to be at these different years. So far, we've never hit that number, but that's the number that I use. The number that they gave us for that year was $71.10 a ton. So we're looking at spending $119,289.55 for Harvey, for Wheelabrator, for Harvey to bring it up to Wheelabrator and for it to be incinerated. Then another $12,000 for your household hazardous waste day, and then another $400 for a detail officer for that household hazardous waste day. And that's where I get the $131,689.55. Questions?
As long as you understand it.
I mean, I don't mind sitting down with you guys because it is hard to talk about it.
What's our, Missy, what's our current for, Harvey?
Our current contract price is $319,000.
Okay, and we're going up to 328.
Correct.
Nope, I'm following right along. Thank you.
Yep. And then trash administration, I'm not aware of any postage increases, so I level funded that, keeping it at the 4,000. And then landfill, beach testing, keeping that at the 20,000. And then that's basically your budget. I told, they were supposed to be entered by January 1st. I have talked to Kim, told her that I was going to go over the budget with you guys today and that I would enter it into KBS tomorrow. And she was totally fine with that because of the, especially with the VNA, because what will happen is once I enter it into KBS, she will then schedule a meeting to go over it and, either give our blessing or not give the blessing for the increases, but most of it's all contractual. It's nothing you can really avoid other than, which she's in agreement, like Tom said, the VNA contract. She wants to see what services are we going to get for that huge increase. But at least I have to put in a number for the budget. Andy?
Next.
Tom?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good with I'm good with the budget at this point. Yep, I'm fine, thank you.
Alan? You're good too, right? Right.
You know my outlook.
The other
Alright.
The other thing that we need to do, which I'm going to hope that Tom will do for me, I would really appreciate it, is the town report. We have to write the town report, and this year is unlike any other year, and I think I don't know how much information, I don't know how much you guys want to discuss of what we've been through in the past year with COVID-19, but we definitely need to write a halfway decent report. Normally, it's the same old. You had your household hazardous waste day. Lenny continues to be your health agent. Tom Ryder is your board of health engineer. You issued these different amounts of permits. You had your rabies clinic. I just think we need to do a little bit more in depth. Andy?
Sounds good. Tom, you up for it?
Oh, I'll take a shot at it and I'll put it out, and you folks can kind of add some thoughts. But I definitely agree. I think we have to put in some sort of statement or informational information, I guess, to to our residents, and with reflection of the whole pandemic and whatnot. And of course we can add the routine pieces into it. But sure, I'll take a literary stab at it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
The other thing and again, this would circle back to the COVID-19, as far as right before Christmas, we received that addendum and letter from the VNA regarding the increase the money that they're asking for. I had questions. I know Tom has questions. I'm sure Alan and Andy, you both have questions, but I did send out a text, to Kim, and she told me that the VNA is all set for now. I told her to send me a detailed invoice in order to get any additional money. We are still waiting for that. I had Cindy hold off until we see if she does that part. If your board has any thoughts about it, send them to me, or else she was going to try and join our meeting tonight. So I don't know how you guys want to proceed. I think it's definitely something that we need to talk to Kim about, or at least have Cindy chime in on about something. So, Andy?
Yeah, okay. I'm just reading the letter again. Is there, in their contract, is there open verbiage that allows for them to, an open door, if you will, for them to hit us with another bill like this? Don't contracts usually have you contractually locked
Yes.
into a figure?
And they're saying that the scope of work is outside the contract.
Okay, that's where Cindy would come in, or
Right.
Kim. No, understand it.
If I may, when you're ready.
Go ahead, your turn, Alan. What's your outlook?
Tom, only because you missed the last meeting, and I don't know how you remember this, but when this topic came up, and again, unfortunately, you weren't present to hear this, I, specifically recall hearing that, and in fact, I think it was you, Tom, that brought up the question as to what were we buying for X number of dollars? What were we getting? And it was stated that we were essentially not getting dollar for dollar services for what we were paying for, but we were buying an insurance policy. So God forbid there were some type of an outbreak similar to what we're going through now, maybe not quite as extensive, we were covered. So I definitely have a problem with the additional fee, because how many years, and again, I believe you brought this up, whatever we were spending, we really weren't getting dollar for dollar. They were making a sizable sum of profit on the services that they were providing. However, that's the way insurance works. You pay for it, whether you use it or not, and you hope that when you use it, it covers everything that you're in the middle of. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
It's almost like you had a tape recording there, Alan, because as you're talking, I'm remembering Tom's words and I'm remembering the conversation, and I swear to God, it was pretty much word for word with what you just said. Tom?
Yeah, Alan, you hit it. That's exactly the mindset that I was under and presented. And I felt that over the years that, the VNA has actually done better financially with the contract, as opposed to, suffering or incurring any kind of a financial loss or breaking even, so to speak, based on what they were providing. And as you pointed out, you're right, it was like an insurance policy. And so that's the mindset I've been under with them for a while. And then, now we go into 2020. And I get that it was a different year, but something that actually, in conversation with Missy on this earlier today, she brought up a great point. This contract that we're currently in started right in the middle of this pandemic. It was already well underway and things were already happening, and yet there was no inkling that there would be any need for any kind of an increase in the contract to support any services. So I'm puzzled as to why that this didn't come up 6 months ago, number one. But number two,
It's kind of shady what they pulled. It's kind of shady.
Well, they're feeling some pain. Somebody's pressing somewhere, and they may be feeling some financial pain. But so that's all well and good, but don't pass on your pain to us if you have not managed your business the way you should have managed it, right?
Yep.
So I see Alan's point in terms of, the services as well, and, if this is what was contracted. I also understand that the viewpoint that Michelle might have or Salmon might have, that it's outside the scope of the services. I would agree. I would tend to agree with that. I was actually surprised that we just didn't see an increase coming into the contract that started in July. So I'm just kind of irritated that this is coming along so late in the game as far as this addendum's concerned, let alone the contract they're proposing for the next go-around. That's going to be a whole different discussion. But what gets me is some things in the cover letter that Michelle sent along with the addendum. First of all, I think she has to learn to spell Mendon correctly. It's M-E-N-D-O-N, not M-E-D-O-N. And I had an issue with the phrasing in the first paragraph about our contract has been one of long-standing goodwill faith on Salmon's part. You know what? I'm sitting here and I'm holding up a finger to you, Michelle. What do you mean, goodwill faith? It's a contract for services rendered. And how dare you say on Salmon's part that there was any goodwill faith? You're telling me that we weren't working in goodwill faith with you as well? What is that all about? That irritated me beyond belief. Secondly, in the second paragraph, she talks about ensuring that Salmon can continue to meet the growing needs of the town during the current public health crisis, right? Okay, you're going to have to define for me these growing needs specific to Mendon, not what you had to do for Northbridge, Milford, Hopedale, any other town. What you had to do for Mendon that's going to justify the increase that you're talking about. So granted, I think our town fared pretty well in comparison to a lot of other towns. Very fortunate with that. So show me why, and it seems like, in talking with Missy, it seems like this amount of money that's being requested, at least we think at least one other community, from what Missy indicated, that it's being requested. I don't know if this is a consistent request that she's applying to all towns. And if so, how is it you can justify the same amount for every town when every town had different needs specific to the COVID pandemic and what your team might have had to have done? I'm just, I'm not feeling very, very good about that. The last part of it, I'll just mention about the cover that I had to do with the last paragraph there, and talking about she's requesting that the town consider their request to allow them to access added funds through the CARES Act relief funds. So is this, and I don't know this, and I don't know if you know, Missy, do we have to approve them for going and getting funds from the CARES Act to pay expenses that they have? I was confused by that.
That means that they know that the towns were all given CARES Act money, and that the towns should be able to access that to pay for any of the additional work that Salmon had to do. And on a side note, just so you know, Tom, I did talk to the woman in Uxbridge, and they have asked Uxbridge for the same $3,500 as they've also asked Northbridge, and that they're asking for Mendon. So I'll call Jackie in Milford tomorrow to confirm that they're also 35. If they're 3,500, then we pretty much know that because they're much bigger than Mendon.
Sure.
And much bigger than Hopedale, those three communities. If they're being asked to pay that sum, I'm going to assume Franklin and Blackstone and Hopedale are also going to be paying that amount. I don't know if that
just doesn't seem fair. It seems like that's.
amount
they're
of usage.
taking- Yeah, it just seems like they're not showing due diligence in really assessing true costs to the particular towns that they're dealing with. That this is an easy way for them to level, let's put out a figure, and across the board to all these towns, irrespective of the level of work we did, because
Yep.
obviously there was definitely more work in these larger towns for them because they had higher cases, they had more contact tracing they had to do. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't seem fair.
It does not compute.
Does not compute. And that's all I had on the cover letter. The addendum itself, I got a big WTF across the paper here. Everybody knows what WTF is? Yeah.
No, can you tell it?
What the? I'll let
Yeah.
you fill in the blank. The way this is worded, and I think she might have self-corrected herself in emails, Missy, correct me if I'm wrong, but this document, as it's printed, is unacceptable. We can't approve this the way it's worded. It's going to have to be redone, in my estimation, because as Missy pointed out, you get into the first substantial paragraph where he talks about the pricing schedule. It says pricing schedule includes a dedicated COVID support nurse for town at monthly fee of, and then she puts in a price of $3,500. What do you mean monthly fee of $3,500? What are you talking about?
Putting her on retainer.
Well, yeah, but
I'm not in agreement, Tom.
yeah, it seems like, although it seemed like in the email flow, I think she corrected herself, Miss, when she indicated it was a one flat $3,500 to cover the period of September to December. Is that correct?
Missy?
Sorry, I
Go on.
didn't realize I was still on mute. Yeah, and one of her emails to me, it was going to be from July 1st until December 31st.
Right, right.
It went to September to December. Emails are great, wonderful, but the signed document that Andy is going to have to sign does not state that.
That's
And
correct.
that's my issue is, and there's no, from this point on, where we want there's no timing. It's very, very vague. Tom?
Yeah, I mean, she does talk a little bit about the discontinuation of the addendum. Does have a statement of it. She's calling it self-limiting to the COVID-19 pandemic only. And it says, she's saying it allows for the town to discontinue or opt out of added support surcharge at the town's discretion. That correlates with the downturn of the COVID-19, so which kind of makes sense. So as things start to wind down and the service level needs are reduced, as things start to settle, the cost incurred would be reduced. But there definitely has to be some rewording up front. And if I were you, Andy, I wouldn't be signing this document as presented.
I appreciate your input.
To Tom, right, with the discontinuation, and then it also leads me into, okay, so if the next 6 months we have to, things start to wind down, but guess what? July 1st, we're into a new contract at $17,500. So until we can see what that contract is, and this is only for support. There's no talk about vaccine or clinics. So that's a whole other gambit. So is this one just to have someone to do our contact tracing and dealing with the schools and communicating with the schools and the first responders as far as positive addresses? And then if we want them to do a clinic, there's going to be another contract with another dollar amount, which I get, things cost money and whatnot. You have to have the people and everything. It's just, we need to start planning and having an idea. And if it is what the money's going to be, I don't know what you guys' thoughts are.
Well, one of the other things you and I have been talking about, Missy, is getting rid of the VNA and getting a nurse, right?
You can do that. So back when we had H1N1, and I know I've explained this to you guys in the past, there was large chunks of money that were handed out to the towns, and the VNA wanted all of Mendon's. And at that time, Jack Renga, you guys could pick his brain. He was the chairman at the time. The board at that time decided, no, we're not going to go in that direction. And then we ended up partnering up with Upton, and we used Trish Parent to do our clinics and everything. And it worked out fabulous. It was great. And then there was talk about, well, maybe, since we have a regional school district and everything, maybe we should partner up with Trish and Upton, as a public health nurse. The unfortunate thing at that time was Trish was twice the amount of the VNA. So you're going from, say 4,000 to 8, 9, 10,000 to have Trish. So that kind of died out because there was no way at that time the Board of Health could justify doubling and their contract when at that point, other than H1N1, they didn't really have any issues. Now with them coming and saying, yep, it's going to be 17,500. Well, maybe the board should think about and mull over whether or not they would like to ask for proposals from other entities or other private, other public health nurse like Trish or like Cheryl. It's just something for you guys to think about. Andy?
Tom stated we do have some time on this. When is the contract up with VNA?
June 30th.
Okay, we've got a little bit of time, but it will fly. What would the procedure be to pursue investigating what's out there? Are there other VNA programs that might be able, or is this the only one?
As far as I know, this is the only one. And in all the talks, when we hear about public health nurses, all I've heard about in our area is either Trish, Cheryl, or the VNA, being that we could always reach out to Region 2 and ask them if they know of any other public health nurses that could, they could, if you guys came up with a proposal that you're looking for, have it sent out and it could go all through Central Mass.
How do you feel about that, Tom?
Well, I did, Missy and I talked a little bit about that. And I think it's an option. I think my only concern there with a trade-off of VNA to one particular nurse is, say, for example, the flu clinic, where they actually they have a team of people that come in to do that. If we move to one nurse, let's say, that we pull on staff, are we limiting our resources to impede, hosting an effective flu clinic?
Missy, does a public health nurse have other nurses that work under her?
They can, and I know that like with Trish, she runs her stuff out of the Upton Board of Health. She has her flu vaccine at the Upton Board of Health office. They have a refrigerator and whatnot. And she will schedule people. I don't know if she does a full-blown scale flu clinic or she just has people come in by appointment. I know in the past, Cheryl has helped Trish out, Trish helps Cheryl out, and they have a whole network of nurses that they do go through. Yep.
Okay. Alan, how you feeling about all this?
I do agree with Tom that I wouldn't want to limit our resources. However, I can't help but be suspicious that this is being seen as an opportunity to grab up some money. The Salmon family is extremely wealthy. They're in a business that generates a huge amount of money, with all the Beaumonts, et cetera. The $3,500 for up until December 31st, I do find it a little disturbing. However, I do know what the value of a medical person is, and I know how fast $3,500 can go. And well earned. I mean, we're talking about a licensed medical person. The increase for next year's contract at $17,500, that's scary. That's a huge increase, more than 300%. I feel we have no alternative but to look at other options in order to do our diligence. But again, I would definitely want to make sure that everything we need in a normal year can be provided. And then the other thing may be is we may have to be prepared that if we were to have a situation like we're currently in, whoever we're contracted with may not have the reasonable resources to handle it. And I don't know where that would put us. But we probably have to start looking at our options right away. Because as you mentioned, AJ, the time will fly. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, it will. Missy, you said that, I forget her VNA contact,
Michelle?
Michelle, would come to our meeting?
I think so. I don't know if you want to put this off until January 20th, or if you would want to schedule something special just for that next week. Because it's something I think you need to kind of get it done sooner than later.
I think that it warrants a meeting in itself, which Kim, I would like to have Kim here and Cindy if it's available, but I think we definitely should start with Kim. Tom is very passionate about this, as is Alan. We all are. But I think it warrants one conversation without having to move on to other subjects through the course of a meeting. How do you guys feel about that, Tom?
I would agree. I think this is a topic that could bring up some pretty good discussion from different folks, such as Kim and or Cindy. Kim's key because being the town administrator, I think that would be critical for her to be part of it. So I would concur that keeping it as a just the one item on an agenda for an evening is probably a good way to go with this topic.
Alan?
I agree. And if the attorney wasn't available, I don't think it would be a big deal, because until something is in writing, we probably don't need legal as to whether or not we understand it and can agree to it. We probably need more input. Hopefully Kim can provide some good questions based on her experience. I would like to share with you guys one situation that came up real quick. I got a call last week from a Bellingham resident. She got my name and number through the town clerk, and it had to do with her father, who was a Mendon resident, and he went to on the 22nd. On the 23rd, he was tested at a lab in Franklin, and the doctor's office didn't call him to after Christmas to check on him and tell him that he was positive. Of course, on the 25th, he went to his daughter's house and participated in a Christmas party with a head count of 20. So this woman was concerned that the town of Mendon's contact tracing wasn't working well, and there was a breakdown. And of course, she has a daughter that has cystic fibrosis, and was very concerned. So I, gathered whatever information from her along with her cell phone number that I thought was pertinent, and I let her know that the VNA did our contact tracing, and that Ann Labonte at the Milford office was our contact person. She looked Ann up, and probably within an hour, Ann called me back, let me know that she had a conversation with this woman. She had checked Maven, and it was never reported to Maven, so Town of Mendon never knew about it. And she calmed this woman down by giving her some information as to how the system worked. And I appreciated the fact that Ann got right back to me. So even though, we're having problems with the management at VNA and maybe think that they're being a little unfair, we are very fortunate to have Ann. And there's an example last week that, she took care of it right away. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
That's not to say that we would not get the same type of results from a different person, whether it's a health care nurse or somebody else. Kudos to Ann for doing what she's supposed to do and acting in a prompt manner. So it is appreciated. Missy?
When I have emailed Kim, not Kim, Michelle, I have told her that, Ann and her team have, done a great job as far as we're concerned. I think that you guys should just schedule a meeting, have Michelle come, ask Kim to come, and then just hash everything out, ask questions, be on the same page, and then everybody can move on from there. And then have Cindy review it, or have Cindy review it in the meantime, and she can give Kim her notes, and you got, if I get them, you guys can mull them over, and then they can be asked to Michelle. But that's my thought. Andy?
I agree, and I wanted to say I agree with Alan, because there really is no need for Cindy an additional cost to listen to us beat up the Salmon VNA Michelle. That's a good idea. All right. I heard you say January 20th. We have a meeting tomorrow. Alan and Tom, you both aware of that?
Yes, I am. 5 o'clock?
Yep.
Okay, 5 o'clock, and you're going to forward the call-in number?
Yep.
Thank you.
I'm glad you said that, Tom. I did not realize, although Missy has probably told me, that it was 5 p.m.
And that's just with Danielle?
It is,
Missy?
yeah. This is just
Okay.
with regard to discussing opportunity here to possibly take on Danielle as a food inspector, temporary food inspector. Am I phrasing that right, Miss?
You're still on mute.
Sorry. Yes, Tom, you are right.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty.
The only other thing I would just say, and I think you guys have already, kind of already know, Lenny, it'll be out for quite a bit. I was wondering whether or not, if Lenny was going to come back in a week or two, then we wouldn't, be so hard pressed to bring Danielle in. But my understanding is he's got to learn how to drive again, and there's a lot entailed to his road of recovery. And I've expressed to him many times that he needs to do what he's got to do to take care of himself, get himself back to being healthy. Yes, we're going to look, and he knows, bring somebody on, but that this is not to replace him in any sense until the day comes that he comes to us and says, I'm not doing this anymore. So I've also reassured him that, because you know how rumor mills and people like to talk and say things. I reassured him that this is not us trying to get rid of him. It's just he's unwell. He needs to take care of himself, do what he's got to do, and he's ready to come back to us come back to us on his own terms. But in the meantime, we needed to have someone to come in. Andy,
Yes,
you
I'm in
agree?
agreement.
Okay.
I concur. I
You
concur.
So you guys have a meeting tomorrow night. Do you want to give me any dates on when you would like to meet with Michelle and Kim so I can give them a heads up?
Before we segue to that, just a follow-up on one topic we kind of went through. And I didn't ask it in time. It was just a thought, and I just wanted to get your take, Missy, because of you being a parent with children in the school.
Mm-hmm.
How, this is with regard to the SHOPS program, is there any opportunity there where that could apply at the school level, or no?
I'd probably say no because I'm assuming that the nurse has her own containers and everything, but I don't think it'd
Okay.
be a problem to reach out to see if, they had any needs for any of this stuff. Sure.
Yeah, I was just thinking that just came to mind after Todd had left the call. I'm thinking, oh, I wonder if the schools would have any benefit.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. Okay.
Sure, I can
And the
reach
only
out.
other thing is just an update for all of you. I did have a conversation with the gentleman at Barbell 88 this
Oh, good.
afternoon. I actually called him directly. I did confirm the particular suite that he's occupying up there at 28 Hastings Street. I think Andy and Alan, you're both familiar with the email thread about complaints we got on that facility.
Yes, the only question I had was the second email that Missy got, the state cited that it was their third complaint. Did you by any chance ever happen to hammer that down?
No, it was unfortunately that was a bit of a tweak. I'm not sure where that came in. The only way I could confirm that was I'd have to do a reach out to Deborah. She's the one at the Mass Department of Labor Standards who was sending the threads because there seemed to be a gap. And you're right, it mentioned 3, but we've only physically seen 2, really. The first one that came about an event that took place on the 2nd, and then this follow-up one. So I'd have to follow up with Deborah
Okay.
and find out. But
Is it at the CrossFit place?
Is it what?
At the CrossFit place?
I'm not sure. I didn't ask the gentleman if he was occupying what was formerly called CrossFit. CrossFit is still up on the sign as you enter the complex. But
Yeah, we'll
I
buy
do know
it.
that, Barbell 88 is listed on one of the mailboxes, in a cluster of mailboxes when you drive in.
Yeah.
And he says he's down the back. It says it's 28C. C is in Charlie. So it may be that CrossFit's out and this gentleman's trying to start up this new business in there. We had a nice conversation. He actually had told me he's not actually open as of yet. I did make him aware of the complaints that had come through. He seemed a little unknowing as to what was being referred to. I just simply explained to him that, we wanted to make you aware, that we did receive complaints that came through at the state level. And, as a local entity, we're obliged to follow up. They said, basically, in general, what we're here to do is to try to help folks from a business perspective, to educate you if there's any kind of supportive information or direction that we can provide. Maybe there's some information you're not aware of that you need to have for compliance, this is kind of what our main goal is. So he was appreciative to hear that. And then subsequently, actually, while we were on our call, he texted me and he's asking if I could meet him on Friday to have a further discussion on it. So I'll respond in the positive and set something up. So he seems very receptive. Again, I'll prod more on how the origin of the complaint could have come, but he seems receptive to wanting to do what he needs to do to be compliant. So that's the update.
If you could just verify I know you said the address, 2C or whatever you said it was. Exactly, is it the CrossFit old section of the building, please?
Yes, I'll get a confirmation of that. Yeah.
Also, it's a little bit, it's outside of the purview of the Board of Health, but I don't know if you're aware of this, they do not have a business certificate. So that's why the town hall wasn't sure where he is. I don't know if you were aware of that. I didn't know if you wanted to, if that's against the rules to suggest to him.
Well,
No, I wouldn't say it's against the rules. And Missy made me aware of it coming out of conversation with Ellen, Ellen Agro rather, and mentioned that there wasn't one on file. Where he hasn't officially opened yet, I wouldn't have a problem in just mentioning it from a business perspective, that it was something that,
Yeah.
he would want to have to, put on file with the town, so that we had a copy of that, so.
Tom, you might want to ask for him to contact the building department because they also do not have anything on file for him either. So that also
Okay.
made it kind of hard as far as the state giving us this complaint as far as, I would go to both of those entities to see what they had on file. So you might just want to give him a heads up on that to call Gail on Monday.
Okay, yep, I can do that, not a problem.
Thank you.
I'm glad that it went well, and I'm glad the gentleman was receptive and didn't automatically, it's been a very tense year for business people, and that he was rather receptive with you instead of thinking that the Board of Health, what a bunch of jerks, this, that, and the other thing, and that he was receptive and that, he understood where you were coming from. I'm glad to hear that.
Yep, I'll give them, I always want to give somebody the benefit of the doubt first before I put the bullet in the chamber.
Alan, were you aware of this situation, everything that went on? You went in to see Missy, I'm assuming you were.
No, I wasn't.
Oh, okay.
No, I haven't seen Alan or had a chance to talk to him about it.
Okay.
When I do talk to him, would you gentlemen be interested in having him see if he can give like maybe a 3-month membership to his one of the classes?
say
and we can
things
all
like
participate?
That's an ethics violation, I think. That might be a violation.
Yes,
Slight.
it might be.
But besides that, no. As I'm eating my ice cream.
You jealous? I'm jealous.
Just be
Yeah.
prepared to fill that pink bag.
That's it. The damn Mendon water.
So
Do you guys?
just speaking of ice cream, just a quick. This is just more of a side note. Andy, how you doing? You doing good?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
Oh, well, everything that I told you, it never came back.
Okay. Great. Excellent.
I went for quite a few tests. There's been no results, no phone calls, scary phone calls. Get down here right away. I have a stress test on the 21st. I'm not looking forward to that. I have a bad knee. I'm 100 pounds overweight and I'm old now. So I'm not looking forward to that. But other than that, yes, there's been no reoccurrences and everything seems okay.
Good.
One
good.
day at a time.
Stay
Thank you.
positive.
Yes, thank you. Alrighty.
So do you guys have any dates that you'd want to meet next week for Kim and Michelle? Any options?
Wednesday?
Okay. I wasn't
Oh,
sure.
wait a minute. What is the date?
The 13th.
I'm going to Maine. I'll be in Maine for 3 or 4 days. If you guys wanted to do it, if that works for everybody, that's fine. I'm okay with that.
Do you want to do it for
What about-
Tuesday?
Go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, what about doing it Monday or Tuesday if they're available?
That works.
Okay.
You know, before
Tuesday,
you
good with
leave.
everybody?
Yeah, that's
Tuesday.
fine with me. I think this is a topic that we all need to be present for.
Mhm.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah. So Tuesday works. Yep.
The only other thing I'll bring up, and I don't know if you guys are interested, this Michelle, I don't know if you want it me to try to get a read on her or anything. My daughter Morgan worked for Salmon Healthcare for a while, and she directly reported to Michelle. Just throwing it out there. If
Wouldn't
you
hurt.
feel it's necessary. All right, I'll be
Any
talking with
intel from
Morgan.
my perspective would be more than welcome, Alan.
Okay. I know I've met this girl once because I used to go in there every once in a while and bring Morgan lunch. So without going into detail, I'll just get Morgan's opinion on her. Very good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Missy, I got a quick question for you. You mentioned the nurse at the school.
Mhm.
Is that nurse possibly able to do what we're looking for as far as our nurse?
No.
Different classification.
Yeah, no, that's a school nurse. That's a full-time job.
Well, I didn't necessarily. Oh, okay. I didn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean through the school,
No,
just
like,
as a sideline, so she has the
Yeah.
qualification.
yeah, not that I know of. I mean, if we go out for proposals and stuff, maybe it would work. I don't know if a school nurse would have that availability during the day if something were to happen. That's my only thing.
Yeah, conflict. Okay. Anything else?
I don't have anything else for you guys.
Tom?
I'm good, thank you.
Alan?
Nope, I'm good. I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Good meeting. See you guys.
See you tomorrow night.
See you tomorrow
Yep,
night.
tomorrow
Thanks,
night.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.